All right. Happy Sunday, everybody. Today is the watch list for Sunday, August 10th, or at least the week of August 10th, anyway, 2025. Before I get into the watch list picks for this week, just as a reminder, for these levels that I point out, if we get a gap up or a gap down, then to me, these setups are no longer valid and I let them go away, right? So, for example, looking at SPY. Let's say we have this 3-1 setup on the weekly, and I'm looking to go long above last week's high. If we gap up like this, I'm leaving the trade alone. I'm not chasing it, right? Because let's say, for the sake of the conversation, if my risk is, let's say, half of this bar at 720, and let's say for the sake of the conversation, I'm going for a 2-to-1 reward. If I chase it, my reward is going to be decreased and my risk is going to be increased. So if any of these setups from the watch list gap up or down, leave it alone and just wait for another one. If it's going to be one of the 4-hour setups, just look for a TTO setup, which you can find in the strat section of the YouTube channel. Anyway, getting to it. So a bigger list than usual this week. Got a good amount of inside bar setups. Not much happened next week, so a lot of consolidation from what I saw. So on BABA, we have a 2-1 setup on the weekly time frame. So if we open up as an inside bar and then break this high, I'm going to buy some calls. Or if you're trading shares, you could just buy shares once it breaks this, or if it breaks this low. One thing to note, these levels are based on regular trading hours. So if it triggers pre-market, then that doesn't mean anything, right? It has to trigger during the New York session. So keep that in mind as well for those who may trade just shares and not options. But yeah, looking at BABA, if this does break to the upside, we can take it to the upside. One thing to note for those who do not trade BABA is that it's a China stock. So I always use about half of my usual size for these trades because it's very susceptible to political news. So if any news comes out overnight, you can either get blown out of your position and your stop loss can be pretty big, or your loss can be pretty big because it's probably going to blow through your stop. If you're in the direction of the news, then hey, you're a happy person. So just keep that in mind if you're going to be swing trading Chinese stocks. Somebody mentioned to put HIMs here since we have a double inside day setup here. I've never traded HIMs myself, but if I were to take this to the upside, remember, by the way, before I forget, for daily setups, it's gonna, and I'll put it on the watch list as well. It's gonna be 2 to 4 weeks out when it comes to trading options, at least for myself. And if it's a weekly setup, I'm going to be looking for at least 4 to 8, 4 to 6 weeks out for the options contract. But for him, if I would take this to the upside, take it as soon as this inside bar breaks to the upside, probably have the bottom, this one right here, instead of this low as my stop. Um, Probably aim for this 50% range of this high to this low. Because we have this big move here that happened, keep in mind that anything above here is going to be an inside bar on the week or a 1 bar. So it can just trigger and then just chop around for a while. So I'll probably take some profit as it hits these fib levels. So I'll take some gains here. When it hits this candle's high, this fib level, that fib level, and if it goes even higher, even better, right? But that's what I would do. And then I'll just trail my runner position after every closed daily candle. Now, to the opposite side, If it triggers to the downside, one thing that I would be mindful of is that this big candle here, there's probably some buyers still hanging out here. So if we do trigger down, it may hit this area, then just reverse back up, which then you can take the three up on this instead of just the two down. But again, something to be mindful of. So if we were to break this low, I'll probably be aiming for this body, then this wick down here, and then this area down there. Looks like the ATR is about $4.50, give or take. So we should hit one or both of these downside targets at least in a day or two maximum. And to the upside, yeah, in about a day, we should be hitting at least one of these targets on either side. I'll mention it later on when I go over news, but there is CPI on Tuesday. So I'm personally anticipating choppy or slow movement tomorrow until the CPI rate or the CPI data is released on Tuesday pre-market. So just keep that in mind. Next up is UPST. Haven't traded this in a while. We had this huge drop. I got to see what happened because they beat earnings. Their guidance might be messed up for whatever reason. Whoops. I'm generally looking for a short here to just complete this bearish TTO or bearish H to the downside. If it does trigger to the upside, I probably won't take it personally. If somebody is inclined to take it, again, this range is huge to the upside. So I'll probably just be taking profit as it hits these fib levels, and then it's the strap target there. To the downside, pretty straightforward. If we get a nice inside bar break to the downside, we can have this low here as one target. Let's go to the left a bit. Probably aim for this gap area. So somewhere around down here. ATR is about $5, and this is what? A six, almost $7 range. So in about 2 days, it should hit if it just goes straight down, of course. So first target for me would be this low being broken right here. Second target, probably this body of this three candle, then the wick, then this wick down here, this other three candle, and then of course the gap filling would be another target. Let's see what we got. Let's check out PayPal. Ooh, potential W on PayPal to the upside. If we do break down, it's just going to be the H. So if we break to the downside, going to be aiming for that low to break right there. Keep in mind the setup on the watch list is based on the weekly. So I'm at least looking at the last week's candle. I'm looking at a potential short to the downside based on how we closed last week on this shooter candle. But looks like the daily time frame can give us an earlier entry because the weekly low is 67.28. Yeah, if we get in on the daily, so if it does trigger tomorrow, that could be a slightly earlier entry by like 10 cents. Safer entry to me would be the weekly break. Daily break, the downside. If we take this up to the long side, if it were to trigger, my stop will probably be under Friday's low or just last week's low right over here. Give it a little more room. Whoops. Right, aim for this. Oh, whoops, that's wrong thing. Wrong direction. Probably aim for this. I'll have a target here and then have another target up there. And then of course, that wick over there to the upside if we do break this daily high. Just remember that if we break that daily high, the weekly is still going to be an inside bar until it breaks this high. that wick high. So it may consolidate. And again, CPI on Tuesday. So things to be mindful of. To the downside, let's see what we got. That stop isn't too bad. Almost $3 stop. See if we can aim for this three candles low. What's that first target? And not the best first target, but we can aim for that body, then this wick, then this body, then that wick there. As targets to the downside. For you United Health lovers, we got a nice inside bar set up on the weekly. I'm not fully convinced yet that they want to pretty much take it all the way back up, but if I were to take this to the upside, let's see, I'll probably buy shares. Maybe I'll do like a option, a 300 call, like a month or two out. Maybe aiming for about 300 psychological level, give or take. Yeah, like the 70 fib. But this is assuming that buyers step in. So if we break that high, go long, what's that range? It's a $13 range. Stop loss will be about 16 bucks per share. Yeah, probably have like this as one target. 50 fib level, this candle high, this fib level, this next one, that candle high as some potential targets. Let me fib out this FBG real quick. Whoops, that's not what I want. Probably aim for 265 as well as the first target that I'll probably look for. Maybe make this stop loss a little tighter, a little under 50% of that candle. So something around 10 bucks, give or take. Because if it does trigger, or if it's getting close to triggering and then comes back down, well, if it triggers us, first of all, and it comes more than 50% of this candle, it's probably going to be an outside bar and break this low. So I have a 10-point stop on this one. Use these fib levels as targets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth on the way up alongside the other ones that I gave. All right, let's check out some news. Decent amount of news this week. Pretty much 3 red folder days out of the 5. So Monday, tomorrow, there really isn't anything. Is our good old buddy Trump talking tomorrow? Have they not put it up? They haven't even put it out for this week yet, so got to see this in the morning. But yeah, Monday, there really isn't anything. So I'm going to be a little more defensive and probably use half size tomorrow. CPI on Tuesday. So if I get into any swings tomorrow, probably going to use half size just in anticipation for this because I've had times where I got into a swing right before CPI and it worked fantastically well. And I've also gotten into trades before CPI that went against me because, the news wasn't favorable. So I'll probably use a third or half size of my usual position if any swings do trigger tomorrow. Nothing on Wednesday. If you do trade oil, just keep in mind we have crude oil inventories. Thursday, jobless claims as always and PPI data. So pre-markets will keep that in mind. And then Friday, we have retail sales data as well as consumer sentiment and inflation expectations. So I'm expecting this week to be volatile compared to last week. So should be interesting. that's all I pretty much have for this week. If this was helpful, definitely let me know in the comments. If you guys like me doing these things, if you need more explanation on what I look for, just let me know and we'll talk about it. Other than that, I will see you guys for the next one and enjoy your week.